The UK and Europe generally lives culturally downstream from the United States, and this is just a fact. It's been this way for quite some time, and more recently, people like J.D. Vance and, over the last week, Donald Trump thrusting the world into a new economic world order has demonstrated that. A month or two ago, J.D. Vance was at the Munich Security Conference giving us a talk on free speech where he provided a warning for European leaders, and he done it again a day or two ago. And I think there's something that's starting to take place in Europe in opposition to the oppressive nature that the authorities have sought to govern us. I think the rest of the world, particularly America, is looking at us and asking what exactly is going on in the European Union, and more specifically, the actual touch point is the UK. The UK is being viewed by everyone in the world as going through something at the moment. People being jailed for Facebook posts. We've got the lady who made quite an abrupt and nasty comment on Facebook and then took her dog for a walk and then came back and was ultimately sentenced to 31 months imprisonment away from her family. I think things have been pushed a little bit too far, and there's obviously a two-tier system going on at the moment. This is clear. Even in law, there's a difference. And all of this stuff is reaching a boiling point, I feel. And so what we'll do is we'll have a look at J.D. Vance's most recent comments, a couple of comments made by Elon Musk, which I think was pretty on the button. And then we're going to have a look at a couple of moments in Europe, which I think demonstrate where all this is going. So first of all, here's J.D. Vance.
Germany's entire defense is subsidized by the American taxpayer. There are thousands upon thousands of American troops in Germany today. Do you think that the American taxpayer is going to stand for that if you get thrown in jail in Germany for posting a mean tweet? Of course they're not, right? So the point that I try to make to our European friends, and I think that there are friends, I believe that, I know President Trump does, is that friendship is based on shared values. You do not have shared values if you're jailing people for saying we should close down our border. You don't have shared values if you cancel elections because you don't like the result, and that happened in Romania. You do not have shared values if you're so afraid of your own people that you silence them and shut them up.
And you can't really argue with that at the moment. The state of free speech, particularly in the UK, is at the lowest point, I would say, in my lifetime quite easily. People are scared to talk in public. People are scared to post things on the internet. There's massive overreach by the authorities. In addition to the fact that not only are hate speech laws very vague and broad, so you could have, for instance, a black person go onto social media and talk about white genocide, but you can't have a white person going on social media and talking about black genocide, both of which are completely out of order, of course, and completely racist and disgusting. But there's this inversion going on where some things are okay and some things aren't. It's quite okay for a feminist to go online and say, kill all men, but it's not okay for a man to go online and say, kill all women. And this vague law doesn't really assist the public in understanding how far they can go when they're talking. And even me saying that, how far can you go when you're talking? When you stop somebody from speaking how their mind works, you change how they think, and that's what they've sought to do. And self-censorship, for fear of arrest, for fear of some type of social backlash, is real. We've got censorship in universities, online regulation. They're talking about an online safety act outside of the cancel culture that we've got going on at the moment. There's so many things happening, and unless the authorities start to recognise that we have a problem, I think we're going to reach a boiling point, and one of those things is with regard to things that are happening when there's a violent act committed. So somebody's killed in public and the media censor it and the media stop you talking about it. And the flashpoint was Southport here last year. And this is being noticed by people around the world. And I think this little clip of Elon Musk highlights it quite well.
I mean, you're clearly seeing a massive increase in the number of attacks in Italy and broadly in Europe. And the media, the legacy media, downplays these attacks. But the attacks, the terrorism, the killing of innocent people is rising. Every week there's more. And it's more and more. And eventually, I think we're going to see widespread slaughter in Europe. That is the trend. If you simply extrapolate the trend of what is the rate at which the terrorist attacks are occurring in Europe, and put those points, it's basically deadly attacks versus time on a graph, and extrapolate that graph, it leads to the slaughter of Europe.
And the example that I would put forward is that of Southport. Look at the atrocious way that was managed by the government. They withheld information. I'm not going to call the person a man because that's not what men do, but someone went in and started killing people. And the government lied to us about it. They didn't release things. They fed into the public anger. They created the public anger. And then to counteract that, they threw people in prison. A lot of those people, unfairly. And this was created by the government. You can't keep silencing things that are happening in order to protect a multicultural narrative that's not working. Everyone can see that. And so what happens when you have a legacy media that's not going to report on the things that are actually happening? What happens when you have a media class of people who's not going to report on the things that matter? Well, you start to see things like this.
Sulla formazione che voleva discutere quale doveva essere la formazione in tutti I paesi europei.
And the people burning that flag were not adults who'd congregated anywhere. What you're looking at there is students in Italy who've had enough of the European Union, who've had enough of the economic degradation that they're suffering, who've had enough of mass migration, who've had enough of a European Union that oppresses its citizens, lies to them almost continually, and treats them like garbage. It's people, the young people, strangely enough, who are the ones that are going to stand up. And you're just seeing this happen in Europe. And then, of course, you see things like this. The authorities in France have made a grave error in judgment in trying to silence Marine Le Pen through lawfare. I think they've committed an error, and I think they've overstepped the mark there. And as you see, patriotic songs, Vive la France, trying to take away people's right to vote for who they want, overreach by the EU. You've got people from America like J.D. Vance and Elon Musk, and think what you like of them. Were they wrong? Was Elon Musk wrong when he said that the media isn't reporting on the killings that are happening in Europe all of the time? What about our media in the UK? How many stabbings do you think happen in the UK every week? Can you even find that information? How many violent crimes happen in the UK every week? How many violent crimes are happening around London? Does anybody look at the tourist figures that are happening? People are stopping coming to London. And the reason why people are stopping coming to London is because it's violent. People are scared to come to London. They're scared to go to Dublin. All of this is happening in super quick real time and the authorities are hiding it. But sooner or later it's going to come out. Everybody is looking at the UK at the moment. You know, during COVID, I specifically remember watching what was happening in New Zealand with the oppressive nature in Australia, how they were going on, and thinking, wow, look at that. Well, isn't it funny that that's how the rest of the world is perceiving the UK, the place where I live right now? Massive government overreach, trying to control the populace, and in doing so, what they've done is they're ruining the country. People are going to stop coming to London. They're going to stop going to Dublin because it's too dangerous. Everyone knows that. The economy is tanking. Everything's going wrong. Yes, there's hope. There's always hope on the horizon. But until our media starts reporting on what's going on, and until our governments start to recognise that you can't just oppress people how they've been doing, this is going to continue on. And what they're creating here, they are creating a pressure cooker. And they're applying more and more and more pressure. And it's happening more and more. And eventually, this powder keg is going to blow. And it's going to be nasty. But this is how societies function. Oppression never wins out in the end. The people always strike back, and whilst I would hate anything nasty to happen, and I would hate for mass unrest to come to anywhere in Europe and the UK, it's going to happen because it's the only thing that can happen, unfortunately. People in a populace do eventually revolt, and this is just history, I'm afraid. Anyway, thanks very much for your time.